We're live. Obviously, right? Oh my goodness, why? Why do things have to happen to me sometimes? I don't know. It's because... Doesn't matter. We're jumping right into it. What are we jumping into? How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger. This is an amazing book. And, I haven't feel like poop lately. Sinuses clogged. Freaking coughing, sneezing, the whole nine. It's terrible. Blech. Gross. Absolutely gross. But, nonetheless, we're here. Time doesn't wait for no man, and neither do I. So I'm here, I'm reading this book, we're gonna get through it. We got literally 5 chapters left, including the conclusion. So today we're reading Nuts and Seeds. Just kidding, that was yesterday. Yesterday I only read 1 chapter because I just felt like crap. It was a small chapter too, and it was unfortunate because these chapters today are pretty big. We're going to be reading chapters 27 and 26 and 27. 28 and 29 are going to be tomorrow. And then we're going to finish off with the conclusion Wednesday. So stay tuned. Stick around for that. Hope you guys have been enjoying this read so far. Today we're going to be reading Herbs and Spices. That's the first ginormous chapter. And then Whole Grains. And that's another big chapter. So get ready. Jumping right into it. Not trying to waste our time. We got a lot of stuff to read through. We have less than 50 pages. Maybe I'll change my title and read the rest of the book today. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. Depends how much I sneeze, cough, and throughout this video and get sick of myself. So I got my handy dandy highlighter. I got my orange. I got my green. Got my yellow sticky notes. I got my blue sticky notes. So... yeah, we're jumping right into it. Here we go. Page 350. Herbs and Spices. Let's start off strong with a sticky note. Here we go. Dr. Greger's favorite herbs and spices. Allspice. Barberries, basil, bay leaves. Let me just make sure my microphone's on. Cardamom, chili powder, cilantro, cinnamon, cloves, coriander, cumin, curry powder, dill, fenugreek, Fenugreek, garlic, ginger, horseradish, lemongrass, sorry, I cannot pronounce half these spices. Marjoram. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Marjoram. Marjoram. Mustard powder. Nutmeg. Oregano. Smoked paprika. Parsley. Pepper. Peppermint. Rosemary. Saffron. Sage. Thyme. Turmeric. And vanilla. And I have saffron right over there. I'll show it to you. I'll show it so you know I'm not lying. There it is. There it is. Saffron. This is the most expensive spice in the world. In the world. Saffron. He says just smelling it can help depression and anxiety. I'm getting used to the smell. I kind of like it. It's very unique. Saffron, sage, thyme, turmeric, and vanilla. Daily recommendation: 1/4 or 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric along with any other salt-free herbs and spices you enjoy. It's interesting that he recommends you add it with turmeric. Here's a simple tip. Use your senses to pick out healthy foods. There is a good biological reason you should be so attracted to the vibrant colors found in the produce aisle. In many cases, the colors are the antioxidants. You can figure out which of 2 tomatoes has more antioxidants just by looking at which has a deeper red color. Of course, the food industry tries to hijack this natural instinct for color foods with abominations like Fruit Loops. But if you stick to green light foods, you can let color guide you. The same is true. We are now realizing with flavor. Just as many of the plant pigments are beneficial, scientists are discovering that many of the flavor compounds in herbs and spices are powerful antioxidants as well. Guess where the antioxidant rosmarinic acid is found? Rosmarinic? I don't know, rosemary? I'm going to highlight it nonetheless. Rosmarinic. Really not liking this green highlighter. It's too intense on the page. What about cuminol, thymol? Well, I'm sure thymol is in thymine. And gingerols. Gingerols. I'm sure that's in ginger. Gingerols. The flavors are the antioxidants. You can use this knowledge to help you make decisions at the grocery store. You can see that red onions have more antioxidants than white. And you can taste that regular onions have more antioxidants than mild Vidalia type onions. Vidalia type onions. The bitter and pungent compounds in the cruciferous and alum families excuse me, there's the first cough, are thought to be responsible for the health benefits. Intense colors and intense flavors can be signs of intense benefit for optimum health. You should try to eat both colorful and flavorful foods. Indeed, the dietary guidelines for a number of countries now specifically encourage the consumption of herbs and spices, not only as a substitute for salt, but for the health properties that have in their own right. And on the top of my list of healthful herbs and spices is turmeric, a spice that is both colorful and flavorful. Why you should include turmeric in your daily diet? In recent years, more than 5,000 articles have been published in the medical literature about curcumin, the pigment in turmeric that gives it a bright yellow color. Many of these papers sport impressive-looking diagrams suggest that curcumin can benefit a multitude of conditions with a dizzying array of mechanisms. Curcumin was first isolated more than a century ago, yet out of thousands of experiments, only a few in the 20th century were clinical studies involving actual human participants. But since the turn of the century, more than 50 clinical trials have tested curcumin against a variety of diseases, and dozens more studies are on the way. We have seen how curcumin may play a role in preventing or treating lung disease, brain disease, and a variety of cancers, including multiple myeloma, tomato, myeloma, colon cancer, and pancreatic cancer. But curcumin, and he did start the sentence with but, dun dun dun. I know you weren't supposed to start a sentence with and or but, and there are exceptions to the rules, but I never paid attention enough in school to know those exceptions. I'm sure he's doing it right, but who really cares? Any other way. Where was I? But curcumin has also been shown to help speed recovery after surgery and effectively treat rheumatoid arthritis. That is rheumatoid arthritis. Better than the leading drug of choice. It also may be effective in treating osteoarthritis. I've never even heard of that. I was expecting him to say osteoporosis, but osteosclerosis, sorry. But it says osteo, O-S-T-E-O, arthritis. And other inflammatory conditions, such as lupus. Never even heard of that. Lupus, an inflammatory bowel disease. Gross. In the latest trial for ulcer, ulcerative colitis, a multi-center randomized placebo-controlled double-blind study found that more than 50% of patients achieve remission within just 1 month of crucimin compared to none of the patients who received the placebo. If you are as convinced as I am that you should include turmeric in your diet to benefit from its pigment crucimin, the next questions then are: how much do you eat, and how do you eat it, and what are the risks? Those are some good questions. How much? How do you even eat it? And what are the risks? Sure, you eat it ground up. A quarter teaspoon of turmeric every day. Turmeric is potent stuff. If I took a sample of your blood and exposed it to an oxidizing chemical, researchers could quantify the damage it caused to the DNA in your blood cells. Sorry. Excuse me, running nose. Not feeling the best lately, but we're pushing it through any other way. The blood cells with sophisticated technology that allows them to count the number of breaks. Let me restart for a little bit. Oxidizing chemical. Researchers could quantify the damage it caused to the DNA in your blood cells with sophisticated technology that allows them to count the number of breaks in the DNA strands. If I then gave you a single pinch of turmeric to eat once a day for a week, redrew your blood, and again exposed your blood cells to the same free radicals, you would see that with the tiny bit of turmeric on board, the number of cells with DNA damage could be cut in half. That's not mixing turmeric with cells in a petri dish. That's just having you ingest the spice and then measuring the effects in your blood. And this was not some fancy crucimin supplement, not some turmeric extract. It was just the plain spice you can buy at a grocery store, and the dose was tiny, about 1/8 of a teaspoon. Now that's powerful. I suppose it is. The dose of turmeric that have been used in human studies range from less than 1/16 of a tablespoon up to nearly 2 tablespoons a day. Few adverse effects have been reported, even at high dose, but the studies typically have lasted over only a month or so. We don't know what long-term effects of high doses there may be, because turmeric can have such powerful drug-like effects. Until we have better safety data, I would not advise anyone take more than the culinary dose that have a long-standing record of apparent safety. How much is that, though? Traditional Indian diets can include up to about a teaspoon of turmeric daily. The average intake in India is closer to a quarter teaspoon a day. So that's how much I recommend you get as part of your daily dozen. A quarter teaspoon. How to eat turmeric. Let me just sticky note this page. This whole page gets a whole sticky note. I know. I'm being generous here. So how do you eat turmeric? Primitive people often use spices in sophisticated ways. For instance, quinine, Quinine, from cinchona bark. Chiona. No way I'm pronouncing that. Fuck that shit. Cinchona. Bark was used to treat the symptoms of malaria. Long before the disease was even identified. And the raw ingredients of aspirin have been used as a popular painkiller long before Mr. Frederick Bayer came along. Over the last 25 years, about half of new drug discoveries have come from natural products. Interesting. There's a plant in South Asia called Adahatoda. Ada meaning goat, and Dahoda meaning not touch. It's so bitter, even the goats won't eat it. Its leaves are steeped with pepper to make a folk remedy effective for treating asthma. Somehow, it was figured out what scientists didn't discover until 1928. Wow. Adding pepper vastly boosted the plant's anti-thymic properties, and now we know why about 5% of black pepper by weight is composed of a compound called pepperine. Gonna highlight that real quick. Excuse me. Forgive me. Spare me. Which accounts for pepper's pungent flavor and aroma. But, yeah, I'm going to have to do something unorthodox and actually put my seat back so I can stop my nose from running. So, yeah, we're just going to be reading back here for today just so I can stop my nose from running. Alright, bear with me, guys. Alright, so, which accounts for pepper's pungent flavor and aroma. But pepperine is also a potent inhibitor of drug metabolism. One of the ways your liver gets rid of foreign substances. So one of the ways your liver gets rid of foreign substances is by making them water soluble, so you can pee them out. This black pepper molecule, however, inhibits that process, thereby boosting blood levels of the medicine compounds in Adahatoda. And it can be the same for crucimin and turmeric root. Within an hour of eating turmeric, crucimin appears in your bloodstream, but only in small traces. Why only scant amounts? Presumably, your liver is actively working to get rid of it. But what if you surpass the elimination process by eating some black pepper? I don't know. You tell me. If you consume the same amount of crucimin but add a quarter teaspoon of black pepper, the level of crucimin in your blood shoots up by 2,000%. Even just a little pinch of pepper, just 1/20th of a teaspoon. Holy shit. Can significantly boost crucimin blood levels, and guess what is a common ingredient in many curry powders besides turmeric? Black pepper. Curry powder in India is also often served with a source of fat, which alone can enhance the bioavailability of crucimin 7 to 8-fold. Unfortunately, traditional knowledge appeared to fail here as to the best source of that fat. India cuisine employs a great deal of clarified butter, or ghee, Ghee, which may explain the country's relatively high rates of heart disease, despite its otherwise relatively healthy diet. My favorite way to incorporate turmeric is to use fresh turmeric root. Any large Asian market should carry it in the produce aisle. It looks like skinny figures of ginger root, but when you snap it open, you're greeted by the most unreal day-glow fluorescent orange color. My quarter teaspoon of dried turmeric recommendation translates into about a quarter inch of fresh turmeric root. The roots are about 2 inches long. Oh, excuse me. Cost about 10 cents each and can last for weeks in the fridge or basically forever in the freezer. Every year you can go to the store and buy a 12-month supply of fresh turmeric for about $5. Sign me the fuck up. There's evidence to suggest that the cooked and raw forms may have differing different properties. Cooked turmeric appears to offer better DNA protection, while raw turmeric may have greater anti-inflammatory effects. I enjoy it both ways. I use a grater to add my daily quarter inch into whatever I may be cooking, or right into a cooked sweet potato, or I throw a raw slice into a smoothie. You probably won't even taste it. Fresh turmeric has a much more subtle flavor than dried, so it may be an especially good option for those who don't like turmeric taste. So fresh turmeric, eh? You will see it though. Be careful; it can stain. Interesting. All right. Clothing and surfaces. Turmeric. Oh, sorry. It can stain clothing and surfaces. Turmeric may not just make your health golden, but your fingertips as well. Consuming turmeric with soy may offer a double benefit for osteoarthritis sufferers. Scrambled tofu is the classic turmeric soy combination, but let me share two of my favorites. So let me just stop uncapping my highlighter because I'm using it so much right now. I'm just going to leave it uncapped. Two of my favorites, one raw and one cooked. You can whip up a pumpkin pie smoothie. That sounds disgusting, by the way. You can whip up a pumpkin pie smoothie in less than 3 minutes. Simply blend a can of pumpkin puree, a handful of frozen cranberries, and pitted dates, pumpkin pie spice to taste, a quarter-inch turmeric slice or quarter teaspoon of powder, and unsweetened soy milk to reach your preferred consistency. Yeah, I don't know about that though. Pumpkin pie smoothie? That just sounds so gross. I like pumpkin pie, but damn. Another favorite is my pumpkin custard, aka, and who knows, is this, I just have to comment on this real quick. A can of pumpkin puree. Like, what is pumpkin puree? I'm ignorant, but is it even healthy? I don't know. I really don't. Any other way. Another favorite is my pumpkin custard. Sounds better than a pumpkin pie smoothie, that's for sure. AKA crustless pie. All you need to do is blend 1 can of pumpkin puree with about 10 ounces of silken tofu, Silken tofu. The Mori New brand is convenient because it stays fresh without refrigeration. As much pumpkin pie spice as you like. That's so weird. Does it mean add as much? It just says as much. Like, I don't know if that's a typo or not. This book makes me feel like there's a lot of typos in it. I'm starting to like this book a lot less and less as I read on. Anyway, as much pumpkin pie spice as you like, and 1 to 2 dozen pitted dates. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it meant to say add as much, but it doesn't. It's confusing. Nonetheless, any of the ways, and 1 to 2 dozen pitted dates, depending on how much of a sweet tooth you have. Pour into a dish and bake at 350 Fahrenheit until cracks appear on the surface. By skipping the pie crust and sticking with the custard, you're left with vegetable, tofu, spices, and fruit. The more you eat, the healthier you are. Fresh or powdered turmeric is a natural flavor fit for Indian and Moroccan cuisines. Excuse me. but I add it to most things, most anything. I find it pairs particularly well with brown rice dishes. Ooh, lentil soup and roasted cauliflower. Prepared yellow mustard typically already has turmeric in it for color, but try to find a salt free variety. One that's essentially just vinegar, a cruciferous vegetable, mustard seeds, and turmeric. I can't think of a healthier condiment than turmeric. Well, what about turmeric supplements? Wouldn't it be more convenient just to take crucimin supplement every day? Added expense aside, I see there I see three potential downsides. First, crucimin is not equivalent to turmeric. Supplement manufacturers often fall into the same reductionist trap as the drug companies do. Herbs are herbs are assumed to have only one main active ingredient. Also, do you guys say herb or do you say herb? I'm just curious. Comment down below. Herbs are assumed to have only one main active ingredient. So the thinking goes that if you can isolate and purify it into a pill, you should be able to boost the effects. Well, crucimin is described as the active ingredient in turmeric, but is it the active ingredient or just an active ingredient? In fact, it's just one of many different compounds of the whole food spice. Few studies have compared turmeric with crucimin, but some that have suggest that turmeric may work even better. For example, researchers at the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Texas pitted both turmeric and crucimin against 7 different types of human cancer cells in vitro against breast cancer. For instance, crucimin kicked butt, but turmeric kicked even more butt. The same was true against pancreatic cancer, colon cancer, multiple myeloma, myelogenous leukemia, and others. Turmeric came out on top, above just its yellow pigment, crucimin. These findings suggest that components other than crucimin can also contribute to anti-cancer activities. Although crucimin is believed to account for most of turmeric's health-promoting activities, research published over the past decade has indicated that crucimin-free turmeric with the so-called active ingredient removed, may be as effective as or even more effective than turmeric with crucimin. There are turmerones, turmerones, for example, turmerones, for example, in turmeric, but processed out of crucimin supplements that may exhibit both anti-cancer and anti-inflammatory activities. I naively assumed that the researchers who discovered this would advocate that people consume turmeric rather than take crucimin supplements, but instead they suggested the production of all sorts of different turmeric-derived supplements. After all, who can take any money on a whole food that costs pennies a day? My second concern involves dosing. While the turmeric trials have used modest amounts that could conceivably be achieved through diet, crucimin-only trials have tested the amount of crucimin found in an entire cupfuls of turmeric spice, 100 times more than what curry lovers have been eating for centuries. Some supplements add black pepper as well, potentially boosting levels to the equivalent of 29 cups a day of turmeric, which might result in enough crucimin in the blood to potentially cause DNA damage based on vitro data. Finally, there is a concern about contamination with toxic metals, such as arsenic, cadmium, and lead. None of these tested samples of powdered turmeric on the U.S. market has been found to be contaminated with heavy metals, but the same cannot be said of crucimin supplements. None of these concerns except cost applied to the supplements containing only whole ground turmeric powder. Nearly all turmeric supplements are extracts. However, how else could they get away with selling a small bottle of pills for $20 when the bulk spice may be less than $20 a pound? A bottle might last 2 or 3 months for the same price. Bulk turmeric could offer, or sorry, um, for the bulk spice may be less than $20 a pound. A bottle might last 2 to 3 months for the same price. Bulk turmeric could offer 2 or 3 years worth at daily dozen dosing. Interesting, interesting, interesting. One compromise between convenience and cost may be to make your own turmeric capsules. There are capsule stuffing gadgets that allow you to fill your own, given the cost discrepancy between bulk turmeric and supplements. Such a gadget would probably pay for itself after your first batch. A 00 size capsule would fit a day's quarter teaspoon dose. Making your own capsules might be a little time consuming, but if you won't otherwise consume turmeric in your daily diet, it might be time well spent. If there were ever such thing as a magic pill, single ingredient, ground turmeric root would probably come closest. Wow. Wow. He likes turmeric that much. That deserves, my friend. A big sticky note? Nah, we'll keep it small. Keep it small. It wasn't that profound. It was profound. It wasn't that profound. Who should not take turmeric? He should have led with this. If you suffer from gallstones, Gall stones, one word. If you suffer from gallstones, turmeric may trigger pain. Turmeric is a... Bro, these words are ridiculous. Cholecystokinetic. 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 I completely butchered it, so I'm going to try and spell it one more time. Here we go. Cholecystokinetic. There we go. Agent, meaning it facilitates the pumping action of the gallbladder to keep bile from stagnating. Ultrasound studies show that the quarter teaspoon of turmeric causes the gallbladder to contract, squeezing out half of its contents. In this way, it may help prevent gallstones from forming in the first place. But what if you already have a stone obstructing your bile duct? That turmeric-induced squeeze could be painful. For everyone else, though, the effect of turmeric would be expected to reduce the risk of the gallstone formation and ultimately even reduce the risk of gallbladder cancer. Too much turmeric, however, may increase the risk of certain kidney stones. Turmeric, that deserves a sticky note, but I'm going to highlight it because I definitely don't want to get kidney stones. Fuck that shit. Turmeric is high in soluble oxalates, whatever that means, which can bind to calcium and develop into the most common form of kidney stone, insoluble calcium oxalate, which is responsible for 75% of all cases. Interesting. Those who have a tendency to form those stones should probably restrict consumption of total dietary oxalate to no more than 50 milligrams per day. This would mean no more than a teaspoon of turmeric daily at most. Turmeric, by the way, is considered safe during pregnancy, but curcumin supplements may not be. My recommendation: daily quarter teaspoon of turmeric. Wait a second. Okay. My recommendation: daily quarter teaspoon of turmeric is in addition to whatever other salt-free herbs and spices you enjoy. The reason the daily dozen encourages herb and spice consumption in general, and not just turmeric, is not because they are all interchangeable. Turmeric appears to have unique benefits, but what there's evidence other herbs and spices have health benefits as well. I've talked about the role of saffron. Saffron, let's go. Every time he says saffron, I'm gonna pick up my saffron and smell it. Because saffron for the win. Most expensive spice in the world. Wake up and smell the saffron. That's some good stuff right there. Can't believe I spent $20 on a spice. It's crazy. I'm gonna do it again. It's actually lasting pretty decent. I mean, I don't use it every day, but you get the point. For example, in the treatment of Alzheimer's, Chapter 3, and depression, Chapter 12, spices don't just make food taste better, they make food better for you. I encourage you to keep a well-stocked spice cabinet and make it a habit to add whatever herbs and spices you find appealing to any dish you might be eating. What follows here is more in-depth examination of some of the herbs and spices for which we have the most scientific data. I will describe some of the fascinating studies that illustrate the benefits of these flavor boosters, and explain some of the easiest ways to add them to your meals. Fenugreek, Fenugreek. Powdered fenugreek. Powdered fenugreek seed is a spice found commonly in India and Middle Eastern cuisines. Fenugreek appears to significantly improve muscle strength and weightlifting power output, allowing men in training, for example, to leg press an extra 80 pounds compared to those ingesting a placebo. Fenugreek may also possess potent anti-cancer properties too. In vitro, I don't like the taste of the powder, so I just throw in fenugreek seeds with my broccoli seeds when I'm sprouting. Bro, I'm going to buy some fenugreek tonight because that sounds amazing. Fenugreek sprouts. Here we go. There is a side effect of fenugreek seed consumption, however. It can make your armpits smell like maple syrup. I kid you not. What the fuck? I mean, maple syrup isn't the worst smell, but that's interesting. It's a harmless phenomenon, but what isn't harmless, however, is maple syrup urine disease. What the fuck? A serious congenital disorder. Breastfeeding infants with mothers who use fenugreek to boost their milk production may be misdiagnosed with this completely unrelated disorder. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding and eating fenugreek, make sure to tell your obstetrician. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Obstetrician. 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 Blah blah. Not gonna say it again. Moving on. Just so she or he doesn't think your baby has maple syrup urine disease. That's hilarious. Cilantro. One sign of changing U.S. demographics is that salsa has replaced ketchup as America's top table condiment. Let's go! Salsa for the win! That's interesting. One popular salsa ingredient is cilantro, one of the most polarizing and divisive food ingredients known to humankind. Some people absolutely love it, and some people absolutely hate it. What's interesting is that the lovers and the haters appear to experience the taste differently. And individuals who like cilantro may describe it as a fresh, fragrant, or citrusy, whereas people who dislike the herb report that it tastes like soap, mold, dirt, or bugs. I'm not sure how people know what bugs taste like, but rarely are polarizing. Hey, bugs are nutritious now. But rarely are polarizing opinions about flavors so extreme. Different ethnic groups do seem to have different rates of cilantro dislike, with Ashkenazi Nazi. Why does Nazi and Jews? Ashkenazi. It's literally Nazi Jews. Ashkenazi Jews. I didn't. Ashkenazi. Okay. I'm definitely immature and just overthinking it. Ashkenazi Jews scoring among the highest on the cilantro hate-o-meter. Another clue came from twin studies that show that identical twins tend to share cilantro preferences, whereas fraternal twins do not have such a strong correlation. I'm trying to remember what the difference between a fraternal and an identical twin is. Identical twins just look the same. Fraternal twins are actually born. So we could be identical twins and not related. So that's interesting. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. So, whereas fraternal twins do not have such a strong correlation, which you'd think it'd be the other way around, right? No? Maybe? Anyway. The human genetic code contains about 3 billion letters. It's more than the English alphabet, goddamn. I'd hate to have to sit in that class and learn my ABCs. I'd be fucking till the end of time. 3 billion later? Goddamn. Any of the ways. So we'd have to analyze the DNA of roughly 10,000 people to find a cilantro gene. Obviously, genetic researchers have better things to do than undertake that challenge, right? Maybe not. That's funny. Genetic studies of more than 25,000 participants who reported their cilantro preferences discovered an area of on chromosome 11 that seemed to be a match. What's there? A gene called OR682 that enables you to smell certain chemicals like E2 decenal, DECENAL, which is both a primary constituent of cilantro and a defense secretion of stink bugs. Ooh, interesting. So maybe cilantro does taste like bugs. Cilantro lovers may just be genetic mutants who have an inability to smell the unpleasant compound. Huh. This may actually be an advantage, though, because cilantro is healthy stuff. Mother Nature has been described as the most comprehensive pharmacy of all time, and cilantro is one of her oldest herbal prescriptions. About 20 sprigs of cilantro daily. Wait, what? Excuse me. Goddamn. I'm not even sneezing, I'm coughing. Terrible. She said, where was I? Cilantro is one of her oldest herbal prescriptions. About 20 sprigs of cilantro daily for 2 months reduce inflammation levels in arthritis sufferers and cut ursic, URIC, ursic or uric acid levels in half, suggesting that lots of cilantro may be useful for people suffering from gout. Ugh, cilantro, baby, for the win. Excuse me. Cayenne pepper. In a study published as Secretion, Pain and Sneezing Induced by the Application of Capsaicin to the Nasal Mucosa in Man. I hope that says capsaicin. Capasaicin. And then mucosa, mucosa, in men. Researchers found that if you cut a hot pepper and rub it inside your nostrils, your nose will start running and hurting, and you'll start sneezing. Capsaicin in the burning component of hot peppers. Why would they perform such an experiment? People who have handled hot peppers know that if they got some up their nose, they can experience an intense burning sensation. And it doesn't even have to get up your nose, which I was chagrined, Chagrined, to learn after I once failed to wash my hands before using the restroom. However, the researchers noted that these phenomena have not been investigated, so they decided it appeared worthwhile to study the effects produced by topical application of capsaicin in the human nose. The researchers enlist a group of medical students and dripped some capsaicin. I really hope I'm saying that right. Capsaicin. Anyway, we're just going to keep saying capsaicin and pretending like we're not a fool. Capsaicin in their nose. The students started sneezing, burning, and snorting, describing the pain at about 8 or 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. No surprise, but it gets a little more interesting. What happened when they repeat the experiment day after day? You'd think the students might be more sensitive to capsaicin, with their nose still irritated from the day before, causing even greater pain and discomfort, right? Actually, the capsaicin hurt less by day 5. In fact, it hardly hurt at all. They didn't even get a runny nose anymore. Were the poor med students permanently numbed? No. After a month or so, the desensitization wore off, and they were back in agony whenever the researchers tried dipping capsaicin back in their noses. What was likely happening is that the pain fibers, the nerves that carry pain sensation, used up so much of the pain neurotransmitter called substance P that they ran out. Exposed day after day, the nerves exhausted their stores and could no longer transmit pain messages until they made more neurotransmitters from scratch, which takes a couple of weeks. How could this be exploited for medical purposes? There's a rare headache syndrome called cluster headache. Never heard of it. Which has been described as one of the worst pains humans can experience. Few in any medical disorders are more painful. Holy shit. Few, if any, medical disorders are more painful. It's nicknamed the suicide headache because patients have taken their lives because of it. Cluster headaches are thought to be caused by pressure on the trigeminal nerve in the face. Treatments involve everything from nerve blocks to Botox to surgery, but that same nerve goes down to the nose. What if you can cause the whole nerve to dump all its substance P? Research tried the daily capsaicin experiment with the cluster headache sufferers. Unlike the wimpy medical students who rated the nose burning as an 8 or 9 on the 10-point scale, those used to the violence of cluster headaches attacks rated the pain caused by capsaicin at only a 3 or 4. Makes sense. By day 5, they too became desensitized to the pain of the capsaicin. What happened to their headache? Those who rubbed capsaicin in their nostril on the side of the head where the headaches occurred cut the average number of attacks in half. In fact, half the patients were apparently cured. Their cluster headaches were gone completely. All in all, 80% responded, which is at least equal to, if not better than, all the current available therapies. What about other pain syndromes? Irritable bowel syndrome is thought to be caused by hypersensitivity of the lining of the colon. How do you determine if someone's gut is hypersensitive? Innovative Japanese researchers developed a device to deliver repetitive, painful rectal distension. Distension. Distention. I don't know why I felt like I needed to spell that. Which is basically a half-quart balloon hooked up to a fancy bicycle pump that is inserted and inflated until you can't stand the pain anymore. Those with IBS had insignificantly lower pain thresholds, significantly less rectal compliance. So, how about trying to desensitize the gut by depleting substance P stores? It's bad enough to have to rub hot peppers up your nose, but where would you have to stick them for irritable bowel? Thankfully, researchers chose the oral route. They found that the enteric-coated enteric-coated capsules of red pepper powder were able to significantly decrease the intensity of abdominal pain and bloating, suggesting a way of dealing with the frequent and distressing functional disease. What about red pepper powder? For the pain of chronic ingestion, dyspepsia, dyspepsia. Within a month of taking about 1.5 teaspoons worth of cayenne pepper a day, stomach pain and nausea improved. The frequently prescribed drug propulsid, OPULSID, Cyapride, worked almost as well as the red pepper powder and was considered generally well tolerated until it started killing people. Propulsid was pulled from the market after causing fatal heart rhythms. That is tragic. Ginger. Many successful natural treatments start like this. Some doctor learns that a plant has been used in some ancient medical tradition and figures. Why not try it in my practice? Ginger has been used for centuries for headaches and and so a group of Danish physicians advised one of their migraine patients to give it a go. At the first sign of a migraine coming on, the patient mixed a 1/4 teaspoon of powdered ginger in some water and drank it. Within 30 minutes, the migraine dissipated, and it worked every time for her, with no apparent side effects. This is what's called a case report. Though they're really just glorified anecdotes, case reports have played an important role in the history of medicine, from the discovery of AIDS to a failed chest pain drug with a $1 billion side effect, Viagra. Case reports are considered the weakest form of evidence, but that's often where investigations begin. So the case report of a successfully treating one migraine patient with ginger isn't so much helpful in itself, but it can inspire researchers to put it to the test. Eventually, a double-blind randomized controlled clinical trial was performed comparing the efficacy of ginger for the treatment of a migraine headaches to some trip triptan some of triptan sumatriptan Imitrex, one of the top-selling billion-dollar drugs in the world. Just 1/8 of a teaspoon of powdered ginger worked just as well and just as fast. That's crazy. 1/8 of a teaspoon worked just as well as one of the top-selling billion-dollar drugs. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. 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 As the drug and cost less than a penny. Most migraine sufferers started with moderate or severe pain, but after taking the drug or the ginger, ended up in mild pain or were entirely pain-free. The same proportion of migraine sufferers reported satisfaction with the results either way. As far as I'm concerned, ginger won. Not only is ginger a few $1 billion cheaper, but it caused significantly fewer side effects. While on the drug, people reported dizziness, a sedative effect, vertigo, and heartburn. But the only side effect reported for ginger was an upset stomach in about 1 out of 25 people. A whole tablespoon of ginger powder at one time on an empty stomach could irritate anyone, though, so don't overdo it. Sticking to 1/8 of a teaspoon is not only up to 3,000 times cheaper than taking the drug, you're probably less likely to end up as the case report yourself, like the people who have had a heart attack after taking some triptan for a migraine or have died. Migraines are described as one of the most common pain syndromes affecting as much as 12% of the population. That's common? How about menstrual cramps, which plague up to 90% of younger women? Can ginger help? Even just 1/8 of a teaspoon of ginger powder 3 times a day. I'm going to sneeze. Purple elephants are amazing, and that's why I'm not going to sneeze. Yeah. Alright. Where was I? Even just 1/8 of a teaspoon of ginger powder 3 times a day. 3 times a day. Drop pain from an 8 to a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10, and down further to a 3 in the second month. And these women hadn't been taking ginger all month. They started the day before their periods began, suggesting that even if it doesn't seem to help much the first month, women should try sticking with it. What about the duration of pain? A 1/4 teaspoon of ginger powder 3 times a day was found to not only drop the severity of menstrual pain from about 7 down to 5, but decrease the duration from a total of 19 hours in pain down to about 15 hours, significantly better than the placebo, which were capsules filled with powdered toast. But women don't take breadcrumbs for their cramps. How does ginger compare to ibuprofen? Researchers pitted 1/8 of a teaspoon of powdered ginger head to head against 400 milligrams of ibuprofen, and the ginger worked just as effectively as this leading drug. Unlike the drug, ginger, I think that deserves like a massive sticky note. We don't use them enough. And this page deserves one. So it's going to get one. There we go. Boom. Massive sticky note. Sorry. Gotta keep sitting back. Where was I? Ginger can also reduce the amount of menstrual bleeding from around half cup. Unlike the drug, ginger can also reduce the amount of menstrual bleeding from around a half cup per period down to a quarter cup. What's more, ginger intake of 1/8 of a teaspoon twice daily, started a week before your period, can yield a significant drop in premenstrual mood, physical, and behavioral symptoms. I like sprinkling powdered ginger on sweet potatoes or using it fresh to make lemon ginger apple chews. That sounds good. Lemon ginger apple chews. As an anti-nausea remedy. Ever since I was a little kid, I've suffered from motion sickness. There is an array of powerful anti-nausea drugs, but they come with nausea-inducing list of side effects. So I've always striven to find natural remedies whenever possible for myself and for my patients. Ginger has been used for thousands of years in traditional healing systems in India. It's known as Ashwagandha. Aushadhi, meaning the great medicine. However, it wasn't proven to reduce nausea until 1982, when it beat out Dramamine, Dramamine, in a head-to-head contest in blindfolded volunteers who were spun around in a tilted rotating chair. Ginger is now considered a non-toxic, broad-spectrum, anti-emetic, anti-vomiting agent, effective in countering nausea during motion sickness, pregnancy, chemotherapy, and radiation after surgery. Try making a lemon ginger apple chews in a blender. Liquefy one peeled. Turn the page. Liquefied one peeled lemon with a palm-sized hand of fresh ginger root. Use the mixture to coat thin slices of 4 apples and then place them in a dehydrator until they reach desired chewiness. I like them a little moist, but you can dehydrate them further to make lemon ginger apple chips, which store longer than the chews. For me, a few pieces eaten about 20 minutes before travel works wonders. Note: ginger is generally considered safe during pregnancy, but the maximum recommended daily dose of fresh ginger while pregnant is 20 grams. That's a lot of ginger, goddamn. No way. About 4 teaspoons of freshly grated ginger root. Any more may have uterus stimulating effects. What does that mean? Women using my apple chews recipe to combat morning sickness should spread out the 4 apples worth of chews or chips over several days. God damn, can I stop coughing, please? Thank you. I'd appreciate it. Peppermint. Which herbs have the most antioxidants? The most antioxidant-packed herb is dried Norwegian bearberry leaf. Good luck finding that. The most antioxidant packed common herb is peppermint. Wait. The most antioxidant packed herb is dried Norwegian bearberry leaf. Oh, and then he says, good luck finding that. The most antioxidant packed common herb, keyword common, is peppermint. That's why I add mint to my favorite hibiscus cocktail recipe. See page 390. And why I try to add it to food whenever possible. Mint is a traditional ingredient in Middle Eastern salads like tabbouleh, Indian chutneys, and Vietnamese soups and fresh summer rolls. I like to put it into anything chocolatey as well. Oregano and marjoram. Oregano is such an antioxidant-rich herb that researchers decided to test it if it could reduce the DNA-damaging effects of radiation. Radioactive iodine is sometimes given to people with overactive thyroid glands or thyroid cancer to sometimes destroy part of the gland or mop up any remaining tumor cells. After surgery. Sorry. There's the cough. For days after the isotope injection, patients are so radioactive that they are advised not to kiss anyone or to sleep close to anyone, including their pets, and to maximize the distance between themselves and children or pregnant women. The treatment can be very effective, but all that radiation chromosome damage was reduced 70%. The researchers concluded that oregano may act as a potent radioactive agent. Other petri dish studies with oregano suggest anti-cancer and anti-inflammatory properties in comparison of the effects of various spice extracts, bay leaves, fennel, lavender. Fennel is Fennel. Oregano, paprika, parsley, rosemary, and thyme. Oregano beat out all but bay leaves in its ability to suppress cervical cancer cells. Oh, I'm going to highlight bay leaves again because bay leaves for the win. Cervical cancer cell growth in vitro, which leaving normal cells alone. Of 115 different foods tested for anti-inflammatory properties in vitro, oregano made it into the top 5 along with oyster mushrooms, onions, cinnamon, and tea leaves. Marjoram is closely related herb and also shows promise in laboratory studies. It appears to significantly inhibit the migration and invasion of breast cancer cells in vitro. None of these studies on oregano family herbs was done on people though, so we have no idea how, if at all, these effects will translate to a clinical setting. One of the only randomized controlled trials I'm aware of is a study of marjoram tea for polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. The tea was purportedly used in traditional herbal medicine to restore hormonal balance, so researchers decided to put it to the test. They instructed women with PCOS to drink 2 cups of marjoram tea on an empty stomach every day for a month. Beneficial effects on hormone levels were observed, which the researchers concluded may justify the important claimed by traditional medicine practitioners and patients. Cloves. The most antioxidant-packed common spice is the clove. It has an exceptional strong flavor, so try adding just a teenish pinch to anything you'd normally put cinnamon or ginger on. Ground cloves are great on stewed pears and baked apples, giving them pleasant mulled cider taste. I want some stewed pears or baked apples. Mulled cider taste, and a mug of chai tea is fantastic way to pack in a punch of high-impact common spices at once. Amla, AMLA. The most antioxidant-packed uncommon spice is amla, which is powdered dried Indian gooseberry fruit. Interesting. As a Western-trained physician, I had never heard of amla despite its common use in Ayurvedic herbal presentations. I was surprised to find 400 articles on the lesser-known spice in the medical literature, and even more surprised to find papers with titles like Amla, a wonderberry, in the treatment and prevention of cancer. Amla is arguably the most important plant in Ayurvedic medicine, used traditionally as everything from a neutralizer of a snake venom to a hair tonic. I eat it because it's apparently the single most antioxidant-packed green light food on Earth. Using an argon laser, researchers can measure and track human carotenoid antioxidant levels in real time. The most important finding from this body of works is the antioxidant levels can plummet within 2 hours of an oxidatively stressful event, which you are stuck in traffic breathing diesel fumes, deprived of sleep, or suffering from a cold, for example. Your body starts using up some of its antioxidant stores. What may only take 2 hours to lose can take up to 3 days to build back up. Even ordinary body possesses even ordinary body possesses, but it says possesses. I don't know if that's a typo, and if it is, I'm getting pissed off with all these typos. Such as turning food into energy can produce free radicals. This is okay as long as the food you eat comes prepackaged with antioxidants. But if it doesn't, if you chug straight sugar water, for example, the level of free radicals and oxidized fat in your bloodstream rises over the next few hours, while your vitamin E levels drop as your body's antioxidant stores are expended. If you were to eat the same amount of sugar in the form of an orange, though, you wouldn't get a spike of oxidation. Researchers concluded this argues strongly for the need to include high antioxidant foods in each and every meal in order to prevent the redox free radical versus antioxidant imbalance. The standard American diet, SAD, isn't exactly antioxidant packed. Here is the antioxidant content in modified FRAP, F-R-A-P, Assay, A-S-S-A-Y, Domol, D-A-U-M-O-L, antioxidant units. Of some typical American breakfast foods, bacon 7, and eggs 8, a bowl of corn flakes 25, with milk 10, an egg McMuffin 11, pancakes 21, with maple syrup 9, and bagel 20, with cream cheese 4. A typical breakfast may average about 25 antioxidant units. Compare those to the smoothie I had for breakfast this morning. I started with a cup of water, 0, half cup of frozen berries, 323, and the pulp of a ripe mango, 108. I added a tablespoon of ground flax seeds, 8, along with a half cup of fresh mint leaves, 33, and a palmful of bulk white tea leaves, 103. For more about tea leaves, see page 385. While the typical SAD breakfast may give you only about 25 antioxidant units, my breakfast smoothie offered more than 500. And when I add the final ingredient, a single teaspoon of amla, I get an additional 753 antioxidant units. Wow. That's about 4 cents worth of amla. And it just doubled the antioxidant content of my entire smoothie before I've even fully woken up. I've already consumed more than 1,000 antioxidant units. That's more than the average person may get in an entire week. I could drink my smoothie and eat nothing but donuts for the rest of the week, and most people still wouldn't catch up. Notice that even though I packed the blender with amazing foods like blueberries and tea leaves, fully half the antioxidant power came from that single 4-cent teaspoon of powdered gooseberries. You can buy amla online or at an Indian spice store. Ayurvedic herbal supplements are typically something you would want to stay away from, as they have been found to be heavily contaminated with heavy metals, some of which are actually added intentionally, but none of the samples of powdered amla tested so far has been found to be contaminated. You can find whole Indian gooseberries in frozen section of Indian grocery stores, but frankly, I find them incredible, astringent, sour, bitter, and fibrous, fibrous, all at the same time. The powder isn't much tastier, but it can be distinguished in something with a strong flavor, like a smoothie. Alternatively, you could pack alma into capsules like the turmeric, which I'm out on the road on a speaking tour. Whenever I'm out on the road on a speaking tour, I try to take daily capsules of turmeric and amla until I can get back home and wrest back control over my diet. Interesting. Yeah, I'm just gonna get a sticky note for all of that. It's been a while since we whipped out a sticky note. This is a long ass chapter. Spice mixes. While there have been a considerable number of studies done with individual spices, few have looked at increasing spice consumption in general. One group at Pennsylvania State University did compare the effects of a high-fat chicken meal with and without a mixture of 9 herbs and spices. Herbs and spices were chosen because once sorry. Once for once, come on, dyslexia. Ounce for ounce, they have more antioxidants than any other food group, and because the study was funded by the McCormick Spice Company, unsurprisingly, the people in the spice group experienced a doubling of the antioxidant power in their bloodstreams compared to the participants in the spice-free group. Remarkably, though, the spice group ended up with 30% less fat triglycerides in their blood after the meal and improved insulin sensitivity. The researchers concluded that the incorporation of spices into the daily diet may help normalize postprandial after meal disturbances. It's spelled post PRANDIAL, one word. Disturbances in glucose, sugar, and lipid fat homeostasis control. Which, no, homeostasis means balance. That's weird. This doctor is weird. I'm not vibing with him right now anymore. At the beginning of the book I was, but closer to the end of the book I'm like, I'm just getting sick of him. While enhancing antioxidant defense, I don't know why I'm just in a bad mood. It's just probably because I have a cold. Maybe that's why. Most likely. While enhancing antioxidant defense, but why experience such disturbances in the first place? The study reminds me of those that show eating greens is particularly protective against cancer among smokers. That is, the take-home message shouldn't be telling smokers to eat greens. It should be telling smokers to quit smoking, of course. They could do both, which in the context of the spice study would mean adopting an antioxidant-rich green light diet offering the best of both worlds. Some of my favorite spice mixes are pumpkin pie spice, curry powder, chili powder, Chinese 5-spice powder. Never heard of it. Why didn't you list that in the beginning of this? A savory Indian spice blend called garam, RAM, masala, masala, and Ethiopian blend called Berbi. No, Berbier. Berber? Berbere. Berberi. Italian seasoning, poultry seasoning, and Middle Eastern blend called Za'atar. Za'atar. Or Za'atar. What are the two? Z-A apostrophe A-T-A-R. Spice mixes are a convenient way to provide a balance of flavors while boosting the variety of your spice intake. But make sure to check that the mixtures are salt-free. Is liquid smoke safe? I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know how I lived so long without smoked paprika. I swear it tastes like barbecue potato chips. After I first discovered it, I became a smoked paprika zealot and put it on almost everything. But now I reserve it mostly for greens. And when toasting squash and pumpkin seeds, I'll bet you aren't surprised to learn that my favorite part of Halloween, I was concerned that I was concerned there might be carcinogenic combustion products in smoked seasonings, similar to the benzopyrene found in cigarette smoke and diesel exhaust. But these compounds tend to be fat soluble. So when you smoke a spice or make a water-based solution like liquid smoke, the smoke flavor compounds are captured without capturing most of the smoke cancer compounds. The same can't be said for smoked fatty foods. While you'd have to chug 3 bottles of hickory smoke flavoring to exceed the safety limit, a smoked ham or a smoked turkey sandwich could take you halfway there, and a single barbecue chicken leg would take you over the top. Smoked fish, such as herring or salmon, appears to be the worst. One bagel with lox could take you 10 times over the safety limit. Some risks to spicing up your life. There are a few spices, however, of which you can have too much of. A good thing. Take poppy seeds, for example. The opium poppy used to make heroin is the same opium poppy that produces the poppy seeds in muffins and bagels. The idea that poppy seeds could serve as the source of appreciable amounts of narcotics was not given much credence. Despite the existence of an old European custom recommending a poppy seed-filled pacifier to quiet a noisy baby, it wasn't given much credence. That is, until a mother tried giving her 6-month-old some strained milk in which she had boiled some poppy seeds with the very best intentions of helping her child sleep better. The baby stopped breathing, but luckily survived. The cases of poppy seed overdose aren't limited to children. There's other case in the literature of an adult who felt dim feelings in the head after eating spaghetti with a half a cup of poppy seeds on top. So what's the upper limit of poppy seed consumption? That's probably safe. Based on median morphine levels, about 1 teaspoon for every 10 pounds of body weight. This means that someone weighing about 150 pounds should probably eat no more than 5 tablespoons of raw poppy seeds at a time. Cooking may wipe out half the morphine and codeine contained naturally in poppy seeds, which gives you some more leeway when baking. Soaking the poppy seeds for 5 minutes and then discarding the water before adding the seeds to your recipe can eliminate half of the remaining if you're making some poppy seed filled pastry or other baked goods for children. Sorry. I don't know if I can keep going like this, coughing constantly. We'll see. Where was I? And discarding the water before adding the seeds to your recipe can eliminate half that remaining. If you're making some poppy seed filled pastry, sorry, I skipped a line. Soaking, which gives you more leeway than baking. Soaking the poppy seeds for 5 minutes and then discarding the water before adding the seeds to your recipe can eliminate half of the remaining. If you are making some poppy seed filled pastry or other baked goods for children, otherwise, there shouldn't be any risk at the usual levels of intake, unless you are going in for a drug test, in which case you may want to avoid poppy seeds altogether. Too much nutmeg can also be a problem. A paper entitled Christmas Gingerbread and Christmas Cheer Review of the Potential Role of Mood Elevating Amphetamine-like Compounds suggested that certain natural constituents of spices like nutmeg may form amphetamine compounds within the body sufficient to elevate the mood and help provide some added Christmas cheer during the holiday season. This wow, my brain's slowing down. This hypothetical risk was raised as far back as the 1960s in the New England Journal of Medicine, in the article called Nutmeg Intoxication. The paper pondered whether the age-old custom of adding nutmeg to eggnog arose from the psychological effect described in cases of nutmeg intoxication. Such cases evidently go back to the 1500s, when nutmeg was used as an abortifacient to induce a miscarriage. In the 1960s, the spice was used as a psychotropic drug. During the decade, mental health professionals concluded that while nutmeg is much cheaper for use and probably less dangerous than habit-forming heroin, it must be stated that it is not free from danger and may cause death. The toxic dose of nutmeg is 2 to 3 teaspoons. I had assumed no one would ever come close to that amount initially until I saw the report in which a married couple ate some pasta, collapsed, and were subsequently hospitalized. What had happened was a big mystery until the husband revealed that he had accidentally added 1/3 of a jar of nutmeg to the meal while cooking. Holy shit. That's about 4 teaspoons of the spice. I don't know how they could even eat in it. I imagine the poor wife was just trying to be polite. Another popular and powerful spice is cinnamon, which has been prized for its ability to lower blood sugar levels. It works so well that if you can even cheat on a diabetes test by consuming 2 teaspoons of cinnamon the night before, 12 hours later, your blood sugar spike in response to meals will still be significantly dampened. Even just God damn. Sheesh. Even just a teaspoon a day appears to make a significant difference. Unfortunately, cinnamon can no longer be considered a safe and effective treatment for diabetes. There are 2 main types of cinnamon: Ceylon, Ceylon cinnamon, and cassia, cassia cinnamon. Butchering the names, but moving on. Also known as Chinese cinnamon. In the United States, anything simply labeled cinnamon is probably cassia since it's cheaper. This is unfortunate because cassia contains a compound called coimarin, which may be toxic to the liver at high dose. Unless it's specifically labeled Ceylon cinnamon, a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon, even a few times a week, may be too much for small children, and a daily teaspoon would exceed the tolerable upper safety limit for adults. That's getting a sticky note. Okay. Can't you just switch to Ceylon cinnamon and get the benefits without the risks? Without the risks, yes, but we are no longer so sure about the benefits. Nearly all the studies showing blood sugar benefits of cinnamon have been performed with cassia. We've just assumed that the same would apply for the safer Ceylon cinnamon, but it was only recently put to the test. The nice blunting of blood sugars you see in response to cassia cinnamon disappeared when the researchers tried using Ceylon cinnamon instead. In fact, all along it may actually have been the toxic cumin itself that was the active blood sugar lowering ingredient in the cassia cinnamon, thus sidestepping the toxin. By switching to Ceylon cinnamon may sidestep the benefit. So, in a nutshell, when it comes to lowering blood sugar, cinnamon may not be safe, cassia, or it may be safe, but apparently not effective in reducing blood sugar, Ceylon. I still encourage Ceylon cinnamon consumption, given that it is one of the cheapest common food sources of antioxidant, second only to purple cabbage. But what's a type 2 diabetic to do? Even if cassia cinnamon only brought down blood sugars modestly, in other words, it was only as good as leading diabetes drug in the world. In other words, it was only as good as the leading diabetes drugs in the world, metformin, sold as glucophage. Yes, cassia cinnamon may work as effectively as the leading drug, but that's not saying much. That's unfortunate. The best way to treat diabetes is to attempt to cure it entirely with a healthy diet. See Chapter 6. Who knew that herbs and spices you've been tossing into sauces and sprinkling onto dishes could have such impact on your health? Work your creativity in the kitchen and spice up your meals and drinks to make them more flavorful. I don't know about drinks, my guy. That sounds disgusting. A spicy drink? No, thank you. Spice up your meals and drinks to make them more flavorful and more healthful. Maybe smoothies. I can see that. But don't forget the quarter teaspoon of daily turmeric. I am sufficiently convinced by the available body of evidence to single turmeric out as something everyone should add to his or her daily diet. Holy cannoli. I know one person is watching me on YouTube, and if you want me to read the next chapter, comment. Yes. Thumbs up. Like the video. If you like the video, I'll continue reading right now. But if not, I think I'm going to have to stop here because my voice is dying. I'm dying inside. Whole grains is like, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages. Another 10. I guess that's not too bad. I mean, I said I was going to do it. But, appreciate that like. It would really motivate me to read it more. I know you're watching, or you're probably falling asleep to this, because I don't blame you. I'll be right back, and I'll make up my mind to see if I'll read it or not. Nope, no likes, no comments. I think he fell asleep. I don't blame him. Do I want to read it? No, I do not want to read it. 10 pages. Am I going to read it? Damn fucking straight I am. Let's get right into it. Whole grains, page 369. Dr. Gregor's favorite whole grains: barley, brown rice, buckwheat, millet, oats, popcorn, quinoa, rye, teff, whole wheat pasta, and wild rice. Serving sizes: half cup hot cereal or cooked grains, pasta or corn kernels, 1 cup cold kernel, 1 tortilla or slice of bread, half a bagel or English muffin, 3 cups popcorn. Daily recommendation: 3 servings per day. Consistent with recommendations from leading cancer and heart disease authorities, I recommend at least 3 servings of whole grains a day. Harvard University Permanent Twin Nutrition Studies, the Nurse Health Study, and the Health Professionals Follow-Up Study have so far accumulated nearly 3 million person years of data. A 2015 analysis found that people who eat more whole grains tend to live significantly longer lives, independent of other dietary and lifestyle factors. No surprise that, given that whole grains appear to reduce the risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, what am I doing with the highlighter? I need a sticky note. Handy dandy sticky note. Obesity and, drumroll please, stroke. Eating more whole grains could save the lives of more than 1 million people around the world every year. There are so many nutrition claims floating around the internet that lack scientific backing, but a few especially persistent memes directly contradict the available evidence. When I see books, websites, articles, and blogs parroting claims like grains are inflammatory, even whole grains, I can't help but wonder what alternate dimension the authors call home. Pick your indicator of inflammation. Take someone's calling me. If you paid attention to my life, you would know I'm busy. I cannot talk right now. I have to hang up on you. I don't want to hang up on her. I think I'm going to let it ring out and waste your guys' time. I apologize. But if she would just follow me on my YouTube channel and slap the notification button, she'd know I'm reading a book. Smith, I'm reading, Smith. All right, where were we? Take C receptive protein, CRP, for instance. That looks like it needs a highlight. CRP levels rise within the body in response to inflammatory insults and are therefore used as a screening test for systematic inflammation. Each daily serving of whole grains is estimated to reduce CRP concentrations by approximately 7%. Furthermore, there is a whole alphabet soup of inflammation markers that appear to be improved by whole grains. ALT, GGT, IL-6, IL-8, IL-10, IL-18, PAI-1, TNF-A, TNF-R2, whole blood viscosity, and erythrocyte filtration, ERYTHROCY YTE filtration. Or as presented in less technical terms, in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, whole grain intake cools down inflammation, even excluding heart disease. Even excluding heart disease and cancer, habitual whole grain intake is linked to a significantly lower risk of dying from inflammatory disease. God damn. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. I don't even know what I want to highlight in all of that nonsense. What about gluten? You've probably heard about an autoimmune disorder called celiac disease. I have. In which the consumption of gluten causes adverse reactions, including gastrointestinal problems. Gluten is a group of proteins found in certain grains, including wheat, barley, and rye. Celiac disease is relatively rare, though affecting less than 1% of the population. For the more than 99% of the rest of us who don't have this disorder, is gluten okay or indeed health promoting like other plant proteins? In 1980, researchers in England reported a series of women suffering from chronic diarrhea who were cured by a gluten-free diet. Who were cured by a gluten-free diet, yet none of the women had evidence of celiac disease. They appeared to have some sort of non-celiac gluten sensitivity at the time. The medical profession expressed skepticism that there was such a thing, and now there are experts who question its existence. In fact, doctors commonly referred their patients claiming non-celiac gluten sensitive to psychiatrists because they were believed to have an underlying mental illness. The medical profession history diminishing disease is existing just in your head. Examples of these include post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, ulcerative colitis, migraines, ulcers, asthma, Parkinson's, Lyme disease, and multiple sclerosis. Despite resistance from prevailing medical community, each one of those conditions has subsequently been confirmed as a legitimate disorder. On the flip side, I do have to get a sticky note. Sticky note for the win. And if you're watching this live on my YouTube channel, like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. You're going to help save the world, because that's what we're going to do together in this channel throughout the course of my life. Mark my words. Mark my words, or I'll die trying. Alright, here we go. Jumping back into it. Despite resistance from the prevailing medical community, each one of these conditions has subsequently been confirmed as a legitimate disorder. On the flip side, jeez. On the flip side, the internet is rife with unsubstantiated claims about gluten-free diets that have been spilled over into the popular press, making gluten the diet villain du jour. And that's DUJOUR. And of course, the gluten-free processed food industry today, worth billions, has a financial interest in the public's confusion. Whether that much money is at stake, it's hard to trust anyone. So as always, stick to the science. And what sort of evidence is there for the existence of a condition presumed to be so widespread? The first double-blind randomized placebo-controlled gluten challenge was published in 2011. Patients comparing of irritable bowel type symptoms who claimed they felt better on a gluten-free diet despite not having celiac disease were tested to see if they could tell if bread and muffins they were given contained gluten or were gluten-free. All the subjects started out gluten-free and symptom-free for 2 weeks and then were challenged with one of the two types of bread and muffins. Even those who ate the gluten-free placebo products felt worse, meaning they started out on a gluten-free diet and continued on a gluten-free diet, yet they reported feeling crampy and bloated. This is what's called the nocebo effect. Nocebo? Nocebo? Nocebo. Nocebo effect. Nocebo effect. The placebo effect takes place when you give patients something when you give patients something useless and they feel better. The nocebo effect occurs when you give someone something harmless and they feel worse. Nevertheless, the subjects who received actual gluten felt even worse. So the researchers concluded that non-celiac gluten intolerance may indeed exist. However, this was a small study, and even though the researchers claimed the gluten-free products were indistinguishable from those containing gluten, it's possible that the patients were able to tell which foods were which. So in 2012, Italian researchers concluded, excuse me, so sorry. Italian researchers created a double-blinded test with 920 patients diagnosed with non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Each was given capsules filled with either wheat flour or placebo powder. More than 2/3 failed the test. Those on the placebo got worse, or those on the wheat felt better. But for those who passed, there were a clear benefit to staying on the wheat-free diet. Confirming the existence of non-celiac WS wheat sensitivity. Note that they said wheat sensitivity, though not gluten sensitivity. In other words, gluten itself may not be causing gut symptoms at all. Most people who are sensitive to wheat are sensitive to a variety of other foods too. For example, 2/3 of people with a wheat sensitivity have also been found to be sensitive to cow's milk protein. Eggs appear to be next leading culprit. If you put people on a diet in common triggers or irritability, I need to get my handy dandy sticky note because I'm sick of this highlighter. I know. Sorry, trees. I'll plant you some more when I'm rich. Let me go back a page real quick. Irritable bowel syndrome or irritable bowel symptoms, and then challenge them with gluten. There's no effect calling into question the existence of non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Interestingly, despite being informed that avoiding gluten was apparently not helping their gut symptoms, many participants opted to continue following a gluten-free diet as they subjectively described feeling better. This led the researchers to wonder if avoiding gluten might improve the mood of those with wheat sensitivity, and, indeed, short-term exposure to gluten appeared to induce feelings of depression in these patterns. Regardless of whether non-celiac gluten sensitivity is a disease of the mind or the gut, it is no longer considered a condition that can be dismissed. The next question then is, what percentage of the population should avoid wheat and other gluten-containing grains? About 1 in 1,000 may have an allergy to wheat, and nearly 1 in 100 have celiac disease, which appears to be on the rise. Still, there's less than 1 in 110,000 chance that an American will be diagnosed with celiac disease in a given year. Our best estimate for the prevalence of what sensitivity is in the same general range of celiac disease, slightly higher than 1%. Slightly higher than 1%. So only about 2% of the population appears to have a problem with wheat. Interesting. But what's potentially millions of people who may but that's potentially millions of people who may have been suffering for years and could have been cured by simply dietary means, yet were unrecognized and not helped by the medical professions until recently. For the 98% of people who don't have wheat issues, there is no there is no evidence to suggest that following a gluten-free diet has any benefits. In fact, there is some evidence suggesting that a gluten-free diet may adversely affect gut health in people without celiac disease, wheat sensitivity, or wheat allergy. A month on a gluten-free diet was found to adversely affect gut flora and immune function, potentially setting up those on gluten-free diets. Gotta highlight that real quick. Potentially setting up those on gluten-free diets for an overgrowth of harmful bacteria in their intestines. This is due, ironically, to the beneficial effects of the very components wheat-sensitive individuals have problems with, such as FODMAP, FODMAP, one word, fructans, FRUCTANS, fructans that act as prebiotics and feed your good bacteria or the gluten itself, which may boost immune function. Less than a week of added gluten protein may significantly increase the natural killer cell activity, which could be expected to improve the body's ability to fight cancer and viral infections. The greatest threat gluten-free diets may pose, though, is that they may undermine our ability to diagnose celiac disease, the much more serious form of wheat intolerance. Doctors diagnose celiac by looking for the inflammation caused by gluten in celiac sufferers. But if patients complaining of digestive problems come to the doctor having already eliminated much of the gluten in their diets, physicians might miss the disease. Why would getting a formal diagnosis matter if you are already on a gluten-free diet? First of all, it's a genetic disease, so you'll know to test your family. More significantly, though, many people on so-called gluten-free diets are not actually on truly gluten-free diets. Even 20 parts per million can be toxic to someone with celiac. Sometimes, 20 parts per million. Sometimes, even foods labeled gluten-free may not be safe for celiac sufferers. What's the best course of action to take if you suspect you might be I gotta put I don't need a big old highlight. I wanted to put a big old highlight, but I'm just gonna put a little highlight. What's the best course of action to take if you suspect you might be sensitive to gluten? First of all, do not go on a gluten-free diet. If you suffer from chronic irritable bowel type symptoms such as bloating, abdominal pain, irregular bowel habit. Can I just stop coughing for 2 seconds? God, please. Thank you. Oh my goodness. It's freaking frustrating. I'm so angry. Irritable bowel type symptoms such as bloating, abdominal pain, irregular bowel habits. Ask your doctor about getting a formal evaluation for celiac disease. If you have celiac, then go on a strict gluten-free diet. If you don't have a disease, the current recommendation is that you first try a healthier diet that includes more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and beans. You're forgetting about nuts and seeds, baby. But I guess that falls under whole grains? No. I don't know anymore. I'm lost in the sauce. I'm just making a little note right now. all the while avoiding processed foods. The reason people may feel better on a gluten free diet and therefore conclude they have a problem with gluten is because they've suddenly stopped eating so much fast food and other processed junk. In other words, if you eat a deep fried Twinkie and your stomach aches, it may not be the gluten. If a healthy diet doesn't help, I suggest you try to rule out other causes of chronic gastrointestinal distress. When researchers have studied POGs, PWA, not POGs, PWAWGS, that they are called in the medical literature people who avoid wheat and or gluten. They've found that, I'm just going to highlight that real quick. They found that about 1/3 of them didn't appear to have gluten sensitivity, but instead had other conditions like an overgrowth of bacteria in their small intestines, were fructose or lactose intolerant, or had a neuromuscular disorder like gas-free diets can be a lifesaver. Eat whole within minutes. Eating whole grains should be more than just swapping out white bread for whole wheat or white rice for brown. There is a wonderful universe of whole grains out there. You may have tried quinoa, but what about kanaiwa? It had an accent mark on it, so kanaiwa. It's K-A-N with the squiggly accent mark over it. I-W-A. Never even heard of it. Kanaiwa. Or fonio. Even wild rice, which is not actually even rice. Whoa. May not be sorghum or teff to expand the amber waves of your horizon. I'll spell those all out to anyone who's actually listening, which I don't think anyone is, but Freekeh, amaranth, whatever, it's Amaranth. Millet is Millet. Sorghum is Sorghum, and then teff, Teff, and then of course buckwheat is my mom's favorite. And I'm gonna just do a sticky note on that page because there's like so much when it comes to that. As with vegetables, use color to make decisions at the grocery store. If you have a choice, pick red quinoa over white quinoa. I didn't even know red quinoa existed. Blue corn over yellow corn. I didn't even know blue corn existed. I know those colored corns existed, like the Native Americans used, but goddamn. And yellow corn over white corn. Beyond just comparing antioxidant content, there's experimental evidence to suggest that pigmented rice, red, purple, or black, has benefits over brown rice. What? I didn't even know there was such thing as purple rice. I want some purple rice. For example, in addition to having about 5 times more antioxidants, colored rice varieties have shown greater anti-allergy activity in vitro, as well as superior anti-cancer effects against breast cancer and leukemia cells. For convenience sake, there are a number of quick cooking grains. Amaranth, millet, regular oats, quinoa, and teff can all be prepared in less than 20 minutes. For grains that take longer, such as barley, farro, or steel-cut oats, consider cooking a big pot in advance on the weekend, so you can simply reheat for your meals throughout the week. Or get a rice cooker. You can buy one for less than $20. Whole wheat pasta cooks in about 10 minutes. Improved production technologies have created a new generation of whole grain pastas that no longer have the rough and mealy texture of yesteryear. My favorite brand is Bionatural Nutre Bionutray. Bionaturae. Because of its deliciously nutty taste. That sounded gay. Not gonna lie. And I am immature as fuck. I don't care. Any other way. Try it with my 8 check mark pesto. Dr. Gregor's 8 check mark pesto. I don't need the sticky note it, but I'll highlight it. 2 cups of fresh basil leaves, 1/4 cup of toasted walnuts, 2 cloves, fresh garlic, 1/4 peeled lemon, 1/4 teaspoon lemon zest, 1/4 inch of fresh turmeric root, 1/4 cup pinto beans. Oh, instead of the turmeric root, you can use turmeric powder, it says. 1/4 cup pinto beans, 1/4 cup water or liquid from bean can, 1 teaspoon white miso, and pepper to taste. Combine all ingredients in a food processor, blend until smooth, scoop onto a cup and a half of cooked whole grain pasta. Now that sounds good. It sounds good. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Popcorn is a whole grain that takes less than 5 minutes to prepare. A hot air popper is another inexpensive, useful appliance. There's an endless variety of savory, sweet, and spicy toppings you can use. I like the combination of chlorella. Really? Chlorella and nutritional yeast. In my family, the green color earned it the name zombie corn. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. By lightly misting air pop popcorn with a spray bottle, you can get dried seasoning to stick. I like to spritz with balsamic vinegar. Be sure to stay away from the artificial butter flavorings. Originally, we thought the artificial where am I? We thought the artificial butter flavor chemical diacetyl, DIACETYL, was just an occupational health hazard, resulting in the death of workers who handled the chemical from a condition that became known as popcorn lungs. Now we know consumers are also at risk given a case series of serious lung disease thought to be caused by butter-flavored microwave popcorn consumption. There are even 1-minute whole grain options, fully pre-cooked bowls and pouches of brown rice and quinoa that can be microwaved and don't even need to be refrigerated. The 5-to-1 rule. If you buy packaged grain products, anything labeled on the front with words like multigrain, stone ground, 100% wheat, cracked wheat, 7 grain, or bran is usually not a whole grain product. 100% wheat? Really? What? Oh no. They are trying to distract you from the fact that they are using refined grains. Multi-grain, damn. Here, color may not help. Ingredients like raisin juice concentrate are used to darken white bread to make it look healthier. Even if the first raisin juice concentrate, are you serious? Even if the first word in the ingredients list is whole, the rest of the ingredients could be junk. I suggest using. Sorry, guys. I apologize. I suggest using the 5-to-1 rule. When buying healthier whole grain products, look at the nutrition facts label on the package and see if the ratio of grams of carbohydrates to grams of dietary fiber is less or less. Of fiber is 5 or less. See figure 7. For example, let's see if 100% whole wheat Wonder Bread passes the test. Per serving, let me highlight Wonder Bread. The package lists 30 grams of carbohydrates and 3 grams of fiber. 30 divided by 3 is 10. Well, 10 is more than 5. So the 100% whole wheat Wonder Bread goes back on the shelf, even though technically it's a whole grain product. Wait, can I just reread all that? Because I was a little confused. I'm sorry for wasting your guys' time. I know you guys can just rewind it, but like, hear me out, okay? For example, let's see if 100% whole wheat Wonder Bread passes the test. Per serving, the package lists 30 grams of carbohydrates and 3 grams of fiber. 30 divided by 3 is 10. Well, 10 is more than 5. So the 100% whole wheat Wonder Bread goes back on the shelf. Yeah, that's going to get a sticky note. Even though technically it's a whole grain product, compared to Ezekiel bread, a sprouted grain bread based on a biblical verse, it has 15 grams of carbohydrates and 3 grams of fiber. And just like that, passes the test. So do Ezekiel English muffins, which taste great with fruit only jam and not butter? Though the science on the potential benefits of sprouted grains is simply in its infancy, available data look promising. Apply the same 5-to-1 rule to breakfast cereals. Another grocery category. And there's the chart, I'm assuming. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see that. That's the chart. Probably can't see it. It's okay if you can't see it. There's the chart. It's like a grocery chart. Alrighty, Bobskis. Alright. And if you're watching on my Instagram somehow, some way, we're 2 hours and 9 minutes in if you want to go check us out on YouTube. Wow, this is the longest I've ever read. Kind of proud of myself, but 2 long chapters back to back. Here we go. Category that can lull you into believing nearly everything is healthy. Multigrain Cheerios, for example, sounds good, but it has a ratio over 7. And then it just goes downhill from there with the Frosted Cheerios and Fruity Cheerios, which have carbohydrate to fiber ratios that exceed 10. Compare that with Uncle Sam's cereal, sliding in with a ratio under 4. Others that make the cut include some no added sugar puff grain cereals like puff barley, but not the healthiest whole grains, are the least processed, the so-called intact grains. Even though wheat berries, shredded wheat, whole wheat flour, and puff wheat cereal may all be 100% whole wheat, they are handled by the body very differently. When grains are ground into flour or puffed, they are digested more rapidly and more completely. This increases their glycemic index and leaves fewer leftovers for the friendly flora down in your colon. Researchers have experimented with this by splitting people into two groups. One group ate nuts, seeds, and beans, more or less intact. The other group ate the same exact foods, but ground into flours and paste. The first group ate nuts instead of nut butters, whole chickpeas instead of hummus, and muesli instead of muesli ground into cream of wheat texture. Muesli. Never heard of it. Note that both groups were eating whole foods just in different forms. What happened? The intact whole grain diet group doubled their stool size, which was significantly greater than that of the ground whole grain group, even though they were eating the same foods in the same quantities. How is that possible? There is so much more left over for your gut flora to eat. When you eat your grains intact, few people realize that the bulk of the stool is not undigested food, but pure bacteria. Trillions and trillions of bacteria. That may be why you get an increase of nearly 2 ounces of stool for every 1 ounce of fiber you eat. That's not just water weight. You're feeding your good bacteria so they can be fruitful and multiply. As the study demonstrated, why does my Instagram suck? Why can't my shit just work? Stop buffering. It's annoying. Please. As the study demonstrated, when you eat grains intact, even if you chew your food thoroughly, pieces of whole seeds and grains transport starch. Fuck Instagram. Instagram sucks. Pieces of whole seeds and grains transport starch and other goodies all the way down to your colon for your flora to feast on. But when grains are unnaturally processed into flour, almost all the starch is digested in the small intestines, and you end up starving your microbial self. When that happens regularly, it can result in dysbiosis, dysbiosis, an imbalance in which bad bacteria can take over and increase your susceptibility to inflammatory disease or colon cancer. The moral of the story: whole grains are great, but intact whole grains may be even better. Instead of puffed brown rice cereal, how about just brown rice? Brown rice for breakfast may sound weird, but warm bowls of grains are traditional breakfast foods in many parts of the world. There are savory versions, or you can sweeten it up with fresh frozen dried or freeze-dried berries. There are online sites where you can buy freeze-dried strawberries in bulk for less than $1 per cup. Oatmeal, of course, is the classic whole grain breakfast. Just as cruciferous vegetables and flax seeds harbor beneficial compounds found in abundance nowhere else, oats contain a unique class of anti-inflammatory compounds called avenantheramides. They are thought to be responsible in part for the fresh odor and flavor of oats, as well as the ability of oatmeal lotion and relieve skin itching and irritation. Studies of human skin fragments from plastic surgery that were subjected to inflammatory chemicals reveal that oatmeal extract can suppress inflammation, so much that oatmeal now appears to be the treatment of choice for certain serious chemotherapy-reduced skin rashes. That's getting a sticky note. Ironically, 2 of the cancer cell lines found to be resistant to that type of chemotherapy were found to be sensitive to avenanthermides in vitro, suggesting that people should be applying oatmeal to their insides as well. Oatmeal is more than just a whole grain. Oatmeal is my go-to breakfast when I travel. If there isn't a nearby Starbucks when I can pick up some oatmeal, I prepare instant oatmeal with dried fruit in the coffee maker in my hotel room at home. If you want to spice up your oatmeal routine, Google savory oatmeal for all sorts of interesting dishes involving sautéed mushrooms, herbs, spinach, curry, roasted vegetables, you name it. The Daily Dozen calls on you to eat 3 servings of whole grains a day. This might seem like a lot, but when you look at it, the actual size of those recommended. Thank God this is the last page. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I could have done one more. Not gonna lie. Recommended servings. It'll be a snap for you to succeed. Just one pasta dish at an Italian restaurant may average the equivalent of 6 servings. What? 6 servings. A morning oatmeal habit is a great way to kickstart your day. And then there are a variety of quick cooking whole grains that serve a convenient, filling way to fight chronic disease, risk all day long. And that, my friends, is chapter 27, Whole Grains, in the book How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger. We have 3 chapters left. Probably going to finish it tomorrow. I'm getting all teary-eyed. I mean, this book's kind of good. I have my little gripes with him, but overall, educational and very, very powerful, useful information. So I will be incorporating a lot of this in my own book that I'm writing currently, called How to... Not going to give away the title just yet. It's already outlined, but not even done the rough draft, so... Yeah, we've finished off on page 378. We got 22 pages left. Chapter beverages is gonna start that tomorrow, followed by the chapter on exercise, and then it's the conclusion. Wow. 22 pages left. It just feels weird. I've been reading this book for so long. I'm gonna miss it. But who am I saying? What am I even saying? You know, guess what I got, guys? I got his latest book, How Not to Diet. Okay, so we have another ginormous book equal to this. You know, this is the hard copy, this is the paperback, but still, like, they're literally the same thickness. I mean, you can't really judge it exactly, but, like, it's pretty much... I'm afraid that I'm gonna have to... If I thought reading redundant information was annoying in this book, bro, what do you think I'm gonna feel when I'm reading this shit, bro? Like, it's gonna be fucking hella annoying. But we'll get there when we get there. I'm definitely not gonna read that book right after this one. I'm gonna read my other books. You know, I got like a whole bunch of books right here. You know, like, look at all these books. I'm showing my Instagram live. I'm not gonna mess with my streaming for YouTube camera. But yeah, that's that, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry for taking 2 hours and 22 minutes and 47 seconds and counting. I'm gonna end the video right now so I can stop that clock. And peace. Much love. Thanks for watching. Ciao. We out. Now we're out. Peace. loves the answer to everything. 1 plus 1 equals a lot.